Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good morning to all of you, my dear student, with this recorded presentation for your book, Curriculum, Foundations, Principles, and Issues by Ernesto and Hankins. And I'll start with you with chapter 1, the field of curriculum. And before starting, actually, it gives me great pleasure, Dr. Mahmoud Dawood Shagfa, to be with you in this interesting course, School Curriculum and their Analysis. And we'll start with this question: what is curriculum? And my philosophy in presenting or in this presentation, to start with the most important ones. No need to be in order in the content. So I'll start with curriculum and its derivation. The term curriculum comes from the Latin word currere, meaning to run, or a course to be run. As you know, in ancient Rome, curriculum referred to a race course. You know, the horse racing, and they used to have a lot of races in the past. So a race course means a fixed path or a track that athletes had to follow from start to finish. And over time, this metaphor was applied to education. The curriculum became the course of study or a planned path that learners follow to reach certain goals. The word curriculum is singular, like bacteria, and somewhere the same pronunciation. So its plural form is curricula, or sometimes curriculums. And if you check up your Oxford Dictionary, you will find both words, curricula and curriculums, right, and as a plural for this word. Now for the definitions of curriculum. In the book, we have dozens of definitions. Here, in these two slides, I'll introduce to you only 4 definitions. I'll start with traditional content-centered definition. Curriculum is the planned sequence of subjects or courses to be taught in school. Now, the first definition, the curriculum is only in schools. Robert or Bobbitt, 1918. The focus here, as you know, less of knowledge and the skills to be transmitted. So the role of the teacher here is to transfer the knowledge to the students. Now, definition 2, modern experience-centered definition. Curriculum is all the learning experiences planned and guided by the school, whether inside or outside the classroom. Now look here. The first definition, inside schools. Now, inside or outside the classroom. So the focus here is on learners' experiences, not just subject matter. The third definition, process-oriented definition. Curriculum is a structured series of intended learning outcomes that lead to the development of knowledge, skills, and attitude. Taba, 1962. The focus here is on objectives, content, learning experiences, and evaluation. And the most recent one, postmodern or critical definition. Curriculum is a cultural and political text that reflects certain values, ideologies, and perspectives, and should be open to multiple interpretations. E.G. Grox, 1988. The focus here is on power, equity, and representation education. Now here from the book we have a lot of definitions, and all of them, if you look thoroughly, إذا نظرتم بإمعان, you will find something common among all of them. What we teach, both written and unwritten. Curriculum is what is taught in a given course or subject. Curriculum is any criteria, element, aspect that aids in children's learning, anything about learning process. Yeah. Curriculum is specifically what you teach within each discipline and at each level. So you will have a lot of definitions here. I'll start with the last one. Yes, even number 13. Curriculum is the outline of concepts to be taught. In each definition, you will find these words: to be taught, inside the classroom, what is taught. But the last one may be common to some extent. The term curriculum refers to the lessons and academic content taught in a school or in a specific course or a program. In dictionaries, curriculum is often defined as the courses offered by a school, but it is rarely used in such a general sense in schools, depending on how broadly educators define or employ the term. Curriculum typically refers to the knowledge and the skills students are expected to learn, which includes the learning standards or learning objectives they are expected to meet, the units, the lessons that teachers teach, the assignments. Look here, the curriculum here covers most of these activities. They are expected to meet the units, the lessons, that teachers teach, the assignments, the projects given to students, the books, materials, videos, presentations, and readings used in a course, and the tests, assessments, and other methods used to evaluate student learning. So this is about curricula, and hoping after this presentation and the slides to get the main idea and can introduce a definition to curriculum. Okay, now curriculum approaches. We have here 6 approaches, starting with behavioral, managerial, systems, academic, humanistic, and postmodern approach. I'll start with the first one. In each method, we'll give you a summary about the method, then the strength point, and the limitations. With the first one, behavioral approach. The behavioral approach is the oldest and still the dominant approach to curriculum. Why? Because the focus of this approach is on defining and measuring specific learning outcomes, objectives. It's very specific. It relies on technical and scientific principles and includes paradigms, models, and step-by-step strategies for formulating curriculum. Goals and objectives are specified. Content and activities are sequenced to match with the objectives, and learning outcomes are evaluated in relation to the goals and objectives. Now, this is just to give you a brief idea about behavioral approaches. But here, the strengths, we have 2 main points: clear objectives and outcomes. The behavioral approach focuses on specific, measurable learning objectives, very specific. Teacher and the students know exactly what is expected. For example, understand condensation. But if you want to write this goal, we cannot use understand. We're supposed to write the goal might be list the steps of condensation. How the condensation or takthif happened, for example, evaporation, then condensation, then drops of water, etc. I mean here, the example, we should be specific. List the steps of condensation. This is as a goal, because we can measure after that. Number 2, easy to assess and evaluate. Since the goals are observable and measurable, it's easy to check if students have learned them or not. But the limitations, may neglect deeper understanding and critical thinking. Focuses more on what students can do, not how deeply they understand or why. Students may memorize facts, but not be able to apply or analyze them. Just they use their memory. This is old fashioned. Can reduce education to rote learning. I mean by rote learning, they may repeat or recall information without really understanding it. Like parrots, they can repeat only. For example, memorizing vocabulary words without knowing how to use them in real life. And you can find a lot of students, they know a lot of vocabulary. But if you ask them to speak fluently, they couldn't. Why? Because they only memorize, yes? Now, second approach, managerial, from manager. This is excellent in military schools, yeah. The managerial approach became the dominant curriculum approach in 1950s and 1960s. By the way, the first approach in 1930s, yes, in early 30s. This one after 20, 30 years. The managerial approach makes schools more organized. Look here, more organized, and ensure that what is taught in curriculum aligns with what the school wants to achieve. Very specific. The managerial approach considers the school as a social system in which students, teachers, curriculum, specialists, and administrators interact. All of them interact together. The managerial approach focuses heavily on organization, efficiency, supervision, and control, like managing resources, schedules, and staff, rather than directly focusing on what and how students are learning. Strengths here: promotes coordination and leadership in schools. This means the managerial approach helps organize how school works by defining clear roles. And this is excellent in companies, in military work. The job description is very clear. Who does what? Put here aside. Who does what? Supporting strong leadership, principals, heads of department, and encouraging teamwork among staff to meet goals. As a result, the school functions smoothly. School functions. المدرسة بتصير أمورها smoothly بكل سهولة، تناغم كامل, with clear communication and shared responsibilities. Each one in this school knows who does what and what's their role exactly. Number two, links curriculum with the institutional goals. This means the curriculum is designed to support the school's mission and objectives, such as improving academic achievement, preparing students for the job market, and promoting certain values, let's say like citizenship and innovation. This is the strengths point. By the way, when I read these 2 points, I remember why the failure in our schools. Because no goal among our organizations. I mean, if you want to focus on the cleanliness, for example, بنركز على النظافة فقط. This value, because here, number 2, look here, and promoting certain values. This value, like discipline or cleanliness, if you want to focus and plan these values in our students at the schools or even at tertiary level, أو حتى في tertiary level في التعليم الجامعي, we have to share this responsibility. We have to share with the municipalities, نشاركها مع البلديات, with the Ministry of Religious Affairs, مع المؤسسة الدينية والأوقاف في البلد, with the schools, with hospitals, with the Ministry of Health, مع وزارة الصحة. Why? Just to support this and to promote this value among our students. Okay, the limitations can prioritize bureaucracy over learning needs. Bureaucracy, long steps and complicated ones to reach the needs. This means the approach may focus more on rules, paperwork, policies, and administrative tasks rather than what students actually need to learn. As a result, decision-making becomes about procedures, not about improving student learning or well-being. Because as you know, in the modern definitions of curriculum or even at schools, student is the center of the learning process. So he's our main focus. Number two, may overlook teaching and learning equality. This means the focus is often on managing systems, staff, and resources, not on how well teaching happens or how much students truly understand. As a result, the school may seem well managed on paper, but students might not be learning effectively. Okay, in conclusion, this approach prioritizes administration over pedagogy. Pedagogy, teaching methods. It may ensure that classes run on time, teachers are assigned, and the system works efficiently. But it might ignore whether students are truly understanding the material and teaching methods are effective and learners are engaged and motivated and they have passion towards the subjects. Now, number three, system approach. From the word system, you know, after managerial view that emphasizes organizing people and policies led to an emphasis on organizing curriculum into a system. Because we need a system here. Because each one knows what to do and what's the role. So now we need system. The organization's units and subunits are viewed in relation to the whole. The curriculum plan often require organizational diagram, flow charts, and committee structure, sometimes referred to as curriculum engineering. هي هذه هندسة المناهج زي ما احنا الآن بنسمي starvations engineering, هندسة الجوع, like what we live in these days. So system theory, here we have also a lot of explanation, and the same strategy, strengths, holistic and adaptable, and support data-driven decision-making, limitations, and number four, the same academic approach. The vocabulary here, I try to simplify the course for you and the content as I can, but the same strategy, introduction, then strengths, the limitations, yes, then number humanistic approach, the same, strengths and limitations, and postmodern approach, also a brief summary about it, and strengths and limitations. And here, which approach do you prefer to adopt? شو الطريقة اللي انتم بتفضلوا انكم تعتمدوها او تتبنوها؟ Now this is the summary for the previous approaches. Look, my students here. Behavioral and managerial approaches dominant in system driven by standards, assessments, and accountability, especially in public education. Academic, it's excellent in secondary and higher education, this approach, especially in traditional or exam-based systems, academic. Humanistic and postmodern approaches are embraced more by progressive educators. The system approach is increasingly used with educational technology, curriculum reform, and policy level planning. The main point here, the last one, in reality, most educators and institutions use a blend of approaches. لما أقول blend يعني مزيج. شفت كيف المونوليكس عندك بنسميه blender، خليط من كل approaches depending on their context, values and goals. Sometimes we need to be systematic. Sometimes we need to be open. Sometimes we have to focus inside the school, sometimes outside the school. So the main point of all previous approaches we discussed, the last one, in reality, most educators and institutions use a blend of approaches. The same we explained to you last semester which method and approach is the best for teaching. We said at that time, it's like a blend of approaches. This is the best strategy. Yes, communicative approach and postmodern approaches is excellent at our time, but it depends in the community. It depends on the university at tertiary level or schools. So this is in brief about curriculum and its definitions and approaches. Thank you, my students, and hoping to see you soon in the next presentation. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.